Coops, I can't remember a time where there's been so many great players and players who are so important to their sides that are sitting on the sideline. Some in a short period, like Nicho expected back this week, Mitchell Moses expected back, but so many, Nathan Cleary, Tom Trbojevic and Kalen and so on and so it just keeps going.
Yeah, and rep season coming around too, so those players would have played and they'd be affected in terms of New South Wales and Queensland. The interesting part is, for me, look what Penrith have done. Penrith haven't got through their 3 premierships unscathed. They've had Nathan out at different stages. Jerome had that injury. So it's almost like if you want to win the comp, you can't have the best 17 and just fall off a cliff. You need to have 25 able players who play at a decent level to win you a comp. And it comes back to that... how do you cover or get through when your gun players are injured? It's that system versus talent identification, right? The Penrith system, because everyone knows their role, executes it to centimetre perfect every time. Whether you're Schneider or Cleary, there's going to be a difference, but at least everyone knows what's about to happen before it happens. People say it's predictable. People say it's not the way you should be playing. But I tell you what, it's reliable for people to come in and come out and not lose too much momentum.
Exactly.
Whereas you'd say Brisbane aren't as predictable or system-based as Penrith. Reynolds jumps out, but then you've got Payne Haas, Patrick Carrigan, Jordan Ricky, Reece Walsh, Ezra Mam, Cobbo, Staggs. There's just talent that makes up for the lack of having Adam Reynolds there.
It's funny, isn't it? Like Brisbane, so if Brisbane lose, they lose Reynolds. But because they're that sort of freewheeling side a little bit, that, you know, a bit of everything, they sort of have to adjust their football and they play a more power-based game. We saw that with Nicho being out in Cronulla. They centralise and play a more power game. Where Penrith, it's just business as usual. And Coop, it is so for the young halfback who comes in, whether it be Schneider or Cogger the year before or whatnot, for them they don't have to come into a side and as such steer the side around the park. Because when you watch Penrith play, everyone just naturally falls into position. So basically, even though you're playing halfback, just look after your job. Just kick properly, defend well, and just roll through your sets.
If you're a halfback for Penrith, all you really need to do in that system when you're young and inexperienced is defend well and kick the ball well. They're your 2 priorities, because Isaiah Yeo's touches go through the roof. Go watch the second half. When Cleary went off, Isaiah Yeo became a real distributor, moving the ball around and knowing when to throw it, when to take a run. And Jerome Luai started moving around the field a little bit more. So it's interesting. I loved what the Sharks did, with no Nicho Hynes. The way that Craig Fitzgibbon orchestrated that performance around, okay, Brayley's my main man. He's creative out of dummy half. I don't want to lose that. But yet, with the speed of Munster and far longer, I need some movement at 3 in defensively. So Brayley attacks in the middle, defends at 3 in, and then you give basically the whole team to Daniel Atkinson, who's playing his 6th game. It's a pretty impressive performance. We spoke about performances of the year last week. That is number 1 by far for me, what the Sharks did on the weekend.
Cooper, just for a second, let's do a bit of just train spotting scene, not tactically. I want to just have a quick talk about some of these injuries that have taken place. Now, I've got a good mate who is a boot inventor, very famous as far as Craig Johnston, right? A fellow Novocastrian. Jono told me 18 months to 2 years ago, he was concerned with some of the modern boots that he believed there was a fault in the boots, and he said which were leading to ACLs, patella injuries, a lot of calves, a lot of hamstrings. I'm just having a look at the number of players here. That can't be a coincidence. I think it's worthwhile players and people within the game, just in sport, having a look at the boot. I honestly believe it's a major factor in some of these injuries. Yeah, I think, again, your point, the boots, the weather has played a part in the ground condition. And the other part too is maybe one thing that clubs need to invest in is last thing we need is all our players going overseas to get rehabbed and then coming back for a period of time. Maybe there needs to be some form of investment done here in terms of rehabilitation in terms of those soft tissues. But the other part too is, Cleary was diagnosed with grade 2 hamstring, right? I'm not saying there's conspiracies or anything about, because
when Turbo went off the field, he limped with a grade 2. When you do a grade 2, it's painful.
Yes.
It is literally, you cannot walk or run. You feel it every time. But Nathan sort of jogged back to position and then walked off without a limp. He trained strongly for the week either side of that. So I don't know if it's grade 2. I think what Penrith are doing is, okay, this is a re-injuring of an old hamstring tear. It's maybe on the grade 1. It's very minor. But the last thing we need is this guy to be playing, having 2 weeks off, coming back during the origin period and potentially ripping the whole thing. So I think they've gone a very cautious approach with his injury. And 8 weeks, mate, let's get this right. Let's don't worry about origin. Let's fix this up. And we'll just say it's a grade 2 because that'll buy us time.
Cooper, when you regularly do hamstrings, every time you even feel the slightest flick in that hamstring, mentally it takes you a long way back. We were saying about the Tom situation and with Nathan, you've got to get them right because when they start to compound, more than just the hamstring itself, it's the mental scarring as well.
I will say this too, like some players who are less professional than Turbo and Cleary will get multiple hamstring injuries, but it must be a bit of a red flag or a scare when you are that professional, when you do all the things you need to do and you still get hamstring tears. That's a bit of an issue.
The other thing as well with Nathan, and Gino, because you're a kicker, is the toll that puts on your body with the amount of kicking as well. Like, and Nathan is such a professional. He'd be out there, he'd be doing more extras as far as his goal kicking, his general play kicking than anybody else, and you see it. And even what puts a lot of stress, a lot of time, those dead ball kicks, like you did those ones, they're pretty taxing on the kick and leg.
And that's why I say that I don't think it's a grade 2 because if it is true that's when he did it, was in the motion of kicking the ball. You can't exactly tear a hamstring to the nth degree when just doing a small kick like that because there's
that is true what you're saying, and they're just being
ultra cautious.
Well, that's a good sign. We talked about all the players that are injured there, and on the sideline, Shaun Johnson is injured, but he's playing. Tell me your thoughts on Jono at the moment.
I've been in Shaun's shoes where you're at the back end of your career and Shaun's not playing well at the moment, and physically teams are going after him. Physically they're making sure that he's having a bad day out. Angus Crichton did on the weekend, Jaden Seward did against the Dragons. And I remember my last year, 2019, we played Penrith at Penrith and Viliami Kikau monstered me for 80 minutes, put me 6 foot under a couple of times. And I was
bottom of a long list there.
I was driving home going, get me out of this season, get me done. And for the next 4 or 5 weeks, I played really poor. I wasn't playing, I was sort of there but not present and doing everything I needed to do, trying to stay away from contact.
I remember that, I loved it.
And it wasn't until there was light at the end of the tunnel where there was a reset that I actually got some enthusiasm back for the game. I knew I was finishing. So I'm not saying that Shaun will finish, but what I'm saying is he needs a reset. He needs this time, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, whatever the injury is. And he needs to work out whether this is going to be his last and he needs to go for it. Because the thing I had on my side, we're at the Roosters, we're in good shape and going to play finals. His team's out of finals contention at the moment and not playing really well. So this time off for that injury for me is a huge reset for Shaun, and it needs to come back with energy and physicality to get back to his level.
He's been here before, Shaun. Like, if we remember his stint at the Sharks, that last year he picked up, he had an Achilles injury, had a couple of injuries, but people were saying, well, he's done. I remember watching him though. I was really surprised because they had a decision to make Cronulla. There was Matty Moylan and there was Shaun. They were going to keep one, let another one go. I was surprised they let Shaun go. I saw glimpses of Shaun at Cronulla that I thought he played some of his best football as far as leadership was concerned. So we've seen him here. We've seen him here before. What's not helping as well is he's lost his half partner in Metcalf. Tamari Martin is not giving him enough. He ain't giving him enough. And the side's struggling. The forwards just aren't bending the line back like they were.